Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Okay, here's the deal. World of Warcraft's kind of like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You pay the door price, and after that, there's no limit. Now, on top of that, in recent times, Blizzard have implemented a number of retention systems that mean that you really can play the game infinitely. Now, people naturally follow the flow of those systems, and because of that, they start to feel burnt out or unsatisfied by the game, and they might not be sure why. And that's because it's hard to have the perspective needed to see the whole system at play when you're stuck inside that system. Now, I personally have been able to enjoy World of Warcraft because I dip in, I do what I enjoy most, and then I leave. I don't really feel forced to do the content that I don't like, but, I do remember a time when I did, and I distinctly remember not being happy, especially when I perhaps forced myself to do content because I thought, oh, I've just got to get enough AP, and if I don't get enough AP, I'll literally die, which obviously was not the case. So today's video exists to basically help you to take a step back, to look at the game, and to focus in on the things that you enjoy while casting aside the things that you don't, even if it means opting out of some of the systems and features that Blizzard have implemented and hope that you play, perhaps maybe even realizing that there are other games you can play instead. Now, for me, instance group content is what I enjoy the most, so that means dungeons, raids, and recently, dabbling in the arena. Now, when I look at the world content of World of Warcraft, frankly, I would rather play almost anything else in existence, so I do that. And guess what? This way of playing the game hasn't killed me, and I don't feel useless in Warcraft. So, today we're going to be looking at the World of Warcraft, and we're going to be deciding what bits of content we want to do, and for those that we don't want to do, we'll be working out how to either avoid them or just to minimize their impact. So the first stage, and this is super important, is pen and paper. Write down the things that you've recently been doing in-game. Rate how much you enjoyed them out of 10, but don't let yourself use the number 7. 7 is a cop-out. To borrow something from Tim Ferriss, if something is not a hell yes, then it's a no. This will help you gain perspective on the game and what you do and do not like. So once you sort of understand yourself, you can move forward. Oh, and this is also great to do in life in general, and I'm trying to smuggle in some real life stuff here. Now, what we want to do is maximize the time doing the things that we enjoy and minimize the time doing the things that we don't enjoy. So to help you with that, I'm going to run through some of the broad systems of BfA from a time efficiency and maximum time impact perspective. Because realistically, can you opt out of AP? No, you can't, but you can manage it cleverly. So let's start with that system. Now, sure, you can grind AP infinitely. You might feel like you have to, but you don't. In fact, if you're smart about it, you can really handle it quite well. So first, the catch-up system kicks in every week. It reduces the AP requirement of the Heart of Azeroth by 30% every week, and it's essentially the same as the Legion catch-up of Artifact Knowledge, at least how it worked after 7.3. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means that it's almost never worth inordinately grinding within a given week, because everything becomes easier in the following week. This means that you want to do the bare minimum that you need to get by, and nothing more. Doing this will mean that the time that you spend in search of AP will be as efficient as is possible, and it will just be a smaller percentage of your overall game time. So the first thing to do is you want to save up your emissary. So in the EU, our reset is on Wednesday, so you want to do your Monday and Tuesday emissary and then just not turn them in. You want to turn them in on Wednesday instead, because then it will benefit from the AP catch-up. Then for world quests, I don't, honestly, just do the emissary once, don't bother with the rest. And now then another big source is island expeditions. I think it's best to batch these. Batching is usually a very efficient way to do tasks, doing them all at once. So by just doing them all at once, you're kind of free for the rest of the week. Now, this is especially true if you can quickly knock out all your mythic islands with guild groups and do it super fast. Then next, you want to think about the war table and use it fully. Now look, think about it. The war table, you can get 300 AP for 30 seconds of work. Now, while the total amount of AP there is limited, it's the most time-efficient resource, or source of it even, in the game, by a massive margin, so it's worth doing. Okay, that's most of the AP covered. Remember that the 30% kicks in every week for the catch-up, so if you miss a week, don't worry, when you come back, it'll be really efficient. If the AP requirement level for this week is 10k, then next week that will be 7k, the week after that it will be 4,900, the week after that it will be 3,400. As you can see, it's a massive decrease. Here's a thought experiment. If you had 20 hours of artifact power grinding in you for a given month, do it at the end of the month. Why? Well, think about it. It'll be tremendously more efficient. Okay, I would never recommend 20 hours, but that, amount of hours would have far greater effects if you defer it as much as is possible to make use of the catch-up. So, now that I think I've made my point, let's talk about gearing. Gearing World of Warcraft is very interesting. More than ever, it is possible to spend a lot of time grinding out incremental upgrades, largely because of Titan Forging. Now that's totally fine. I suppose it does exist as a extensible way to, progress your character for as long as well, you can. Now, I do think what you should do, though, is establish a efficient baseline for gearing and really focus in on the high-impact things that will give you good gains. So first up, world bosses. There's one every week in Battle for Azeroth, and then, of course, there's the Warfront one, which you can do if the Warfront is under your control. You can do that, like, once a month. And that's a source of 370 gear. Now, bringing up Warfronts, if they're active, then, they will be once every 4 weeks, then it's a great way to get gear. A Warfront drops a guaranteed 340. They take 20 to 30 minutes, that's 2 bits of 340 gear per hour, not counting Titan Forging, plus the weekly quest, or not the weekly, just, the overall quest that gives you a 370. So that's great. Warfronts are powerful to the point where I actually would not bother farming up gear through traditional methods on a fresh alt. I just get them up to 320 as quickly as I can, and then just go into the Warfronts and use that as a jumping off point for Mythic Plus. So with these sources, you can generally get like 1 to 2 bits of pretty decent gear per week, so the next thing you want to do is just push a Mythic Plus key a little bit. Now, I happen to love this content, so it's a real high point of the game for me. If I wanted to do it efficiently, then I just push a key for the week and leave it at that. I probably would not be grinding them out for gear because the time efficiency really evaporates once you've done that weekly chest anyway. Then with PvP content, well, earning the Conquest chest, of course, gives you a nice boost of weekly gear. Of course, there's also the weekly bit of Conquest gear. Now, that Conquest bar works such that you could not touch PvP for 3 weeks and then just go and get those 3 weeks worth of Conquest bar gear in like 1 or 2 days. So you're not really missing out on gear bar the weekly chest if you defer that content. So doing things like this, that will get you a baseline amount of pretty damn decent gear without inordinate amounts of farming. It can be done in not that much time, which means that you are more free to do what you want. So really the long and short of this is just to focus in on time efficiency. Think about that stuff for the content that you don't particularly enjoy. So by working out the bare minimum that you need to do to get by and, efficiently doing that content, you can remove most of the work from World of Warcraft, and that leaves you a bit more free to do the content that you really care about, be that raiding, Mythic Plus, mount farming, doing transmogs, or even playing other games, which I really recommend you do. Look, the modern design of, WoW really incentivizes you to do a lot of work stuff every week, a lot of maintenance, and, say World Quest content and things like that. But the thing is, those World Quests, they don't hold a candle to the content in other games. So while, say, some of these systems are not entirely avoidable, you can make the best of it, and you can tailor a way of playing WoW that still is fun for you, even if you've got issues with how the game is currently designed. Really, I think that a lot of people end up feeling stuck in a rut. They don't really know why, and the goal of this video is to question the base assumptions that would lead to you sort of being stuck in a rut, and hopefully to give you more of a sense of freedom in how you spend your time in the game, and just sort of publicly say on a decently sized platform, I suppose, that, it's okay to actually take a step back sometimes. As much as it does seem like a lot of this is people's fault for getting them into these situations, ultimately player behavior is kind of driven by game systems. Now, really, much of this comes from how I'm running my actual real life. I'm very aware that how I feel is often a product of the systems of living that I create. So the people I meet, the places I go, the work that I do, the books that I read, by being more aware of those things and more aware of myself, I've been able to really improve my life over the last year. So while I'm talking about these principles in relation to World of Warcraft, they apply to your life. So maybe if you see success implementing these things or thinking about them in WoW, maybe you could actually sort of apply some of this stuff to real life and see some real benefits. So with that, thank you very much for watching this video. Definitely a strange guide to be making, a bit of a strange video, but it's kind of crossing a few topics that I really am passionate about, I suppose. So yeah, a big thank you to everyone for watching, and a big thank you to the patrons. Of course, on Patreon, we now have this. There we go. If I can even hold it up right. We now have both of these on the master tier. So we've added these in this month. Of course, same price, same everything. Yeah, we got bestiary cards. We've got art cards. They're both really awesome, high quality, cool things. So you can check those out. And the Patreon is just a massive support, for the channel. And it's part of the reason why we've got this sick new office. It's going to lead to a whole bunch of benefits. So thanks for watching. Thanks to them. And I will see you next time.